It is the month of spring, where spring now moves into summer. This is a period in which everything is blossoming in the golden province of Gauteng. The jackets are off, all the layers are off, and everybody is in the street exploring our spaces and places. To speak more about our spaces and places, as we always do, bringing you test and change makers in the golden province of Gauteng, I'm joined by our guest, my former boss, dear friend, a Gemini.
Fellow Gemini.
Fellow Gemini, and by extension meaning a trouble rouser. A person who doesn't obey
crazy, as we're calling ourselves now.
You know, Don Robertson, thank you very much for accepting our invitation. Welcome to Gauteng Live.
Thank you, Barba. Thanks for having us.
I really even don't know where to start with you, because it feels like we have been working together.
I was just telling the guys
forever.
before I left the office, I'm going to see Barba, and I told them about how we ran riot in the World Cup.
Yeah, so
and threw a bigger party than FIFA did.
Yeah, I guess maybe tracing it back before we even get to our escapades during the World Cup, the launch of Brand Gauteng. Just your first encounter as you arrive into this city, fresh from varsity, and now exploring this city and this golden province. Back then, not even the Gauteng province.
Yeah, well, I mean, I fell in love with the city the moment I came here. I mean, I'm kind of a child of South Africa, Cape Town, KZN, and then Joburg. But truly, Joburg and Jozi is the place that I fell in love with. Yeah. Just everything about this place, the people, the culture, the creativity. This is the place to be.
Yeah. And you arrive in here and get thrown into the bureaucracy, and part of your early responsibilities includes what I would term a very difficult but also exciting period. You know, governance and its systems, you were kind of allowed to experiment, demonstrate the results, but also given space to operate. And you end up being responsible for what I still regard as one of the most important departments in Gauteng provincial government, arts, sports and culture, especially in a creative city region like ours. And the balance between your own creativity having come from the academia space and you by nature being a creator, and you now have to deal with memos and bureaucracy.
It actually started a little bit before then. So maybe if I can give you an example. So I was lecturing at UKZN at the time. And I got this call from the National Department of Arts and Culture that I needed to come up and start. You know, during the RDP days, they'd built all these community art centers.
Oh, yes.
And nothing was happening in them. Yeah. So I was called and said, listen, we want to appoint you to kind of put programs and make things happen. And so with great reluctance, I left and came up. But the interesting thing was when I got there, my chief director, they didn't have that many DGGs at the time, said to me, listen, I don't have a budget for you because I had to just employ you and get you in here, but next year you'll have a budget. But what you can do, and this was around about June, hey? So when next budgets come in April the following year. He says, but what I do
so it's a full year.
It's a full year. But he says, but I'm in charge of international relations.
Okay.
So you can use my travel budget. Travel the whole of South Africa and then benchmark internationally so that when you start this new portfolio, you've got it.
Wow.
So I don't know, I've just been blessed with people that recognize that I don't do things by the book.
Yeah. And just give you the
and
blank
give
canvas.
me the rein to do it.
Yeah.
And he was amazing. I can remember my first time I had to do a submission. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you know that in those days in national departments, they had these like leather-bound folders, and you had to put the submission in a particular way, and then you had to tie it with a pink ribbon.
Oh, wow.
But this pink ribbon was tied in I still don't know how to tie a pink ribbon. I had my subordinates. I was like, there's the stuff, guys, go and package it, tie the ribbon. I can't do that. So, I mean, I had that opportunity as well. And I mean, I remember with one, because I'd been doing a lot of work in rural areas. Yeah. And the same boss, you know, he was saying to me, like, they were doing things in the craft sector. And I said to them, but have you ever been into rural areas to see what people are doing in the crafts there? And he said, no. So he said, okay, we're hiring a minibus, Quantum, whatever. You're going to take the whole team down. And I took this team and toured all the rural areas, visiting crafters in KZN and stuff like that with them. So I've been very privileged. And like you say, when I got into Gauteng, I also got into a space where people allowed me to do the things that I did. So I don't know, I've been very blessed. And I've also been blessed in the sense that I've been through so many terms. You know how people...
Yes.
I somehow have survived everybody. And I mean, you and I met when the Premier said to me, okay, set up this war room for 2010.
Absolutely.
And look at the province. Choose people across the province that you want to bring into this. And that's how we started our shenanigans.
And I guess that demonstrate if creatives are allowed to operate, but also with some level of checks and balances systems in place. I always insist on that. There are periods and eras. So we had the President Mandela's period, the peacemaker, the diplomat, the charmer, who goes in. And if you look at that period, who was also on the other side, Bill Clinton, those Muammar Gaddafi, Fidel Castro's. So presidents and leaders were these huge figures who command, respect. And it moved in. You had President Mbeki's generation now, the hard thinkers, scrutinize every detail, balancing between the economy and all of those, and now and across, not just in government, across, and then you have creatives assuming responsibilities. I mean, if you look at what drives business now, all your startups, from your Googles, your Apple, your Bill Gates, and everybody else comes from now that background. Do you think this is the era of creative leadership?
Well, we believe that as Jozi my Jozi.
Yeah.
I mean, so we always say it's time for the crazies to wake the nation.
Yeah.
So that's our motto. We got that motto, we got another one, which is get shit done.
Okay. Yeah.
We don't wait for tomorrow.
Yeah.
We do it now.
So we wake the nation and get shit done.
We wake the nation and we get shit done.
Yeah.
And hence, the work we're doing with people like David Cloud, who's been a guest on your show,
Absolutely.
and other people.
Yeah. So maybe let's rewind it back again. You are given this responsibility in Gauteng, responsible for art, sports and culture. It's a period in which actually the provinces crafted the creative sector strategy, which ultimately became the Mzansi Golden.
Yeah, this was my first job when I came in, was to develop that strategy.
Yeah, so you had brains and part of the collective that created that. And back then, it was very clear on what needs to happen. We need to harness the power of the creative sector, utilize its soft currency, but its ability to also collaborate with the other sectors. Sitting here now, reflecting on this journey, what do you think have worked back then, and where did we drop the ball?
So one of the things, we developed a lot of key strategies, so Home of Champions for sport and the creative sector strategy and stuff like that. I think one of the challenges for me was the disjuncture between the Department of Arts and Culture and the Department of Economic Development.
Yeah.
And for me, the Department of Arts and Culture should not play really in the economic development space. They should be about arts education, audience development, that kind of area. Yeah. And economic development should be looking at that side.
Leveraging that.
And what happened, I think at that time, there was a bit of a tussle between the departments as to who should have done. And if we had got it very clear, if the instruction had come, I think we'd be far ahead now. I think the Western Cape understood that approach. The Western Cape implemented it immediately. They managed to leapfrog a lot because of that. And that's not because they've got more creatives. No. We've got more creatives here, and there's a lot more happening here. And because of that, I think it's not just about the creative sector. I think it's about government in general.
Yeah.
we don't know how to collaborate. We don't even know how, to get co-opetition between us.
Absolutely.
It's just competition, And in tourism, when we got there, it was a lot about co-opetition.
Yeah.
How do we collaborate, but we still are competing against each other for the visitor numbers and stuff like that, but we realize we've got to cooperate. And I think a lot of government departments don't recognize that. So, post that role, when I got to jumping other things, but one of the things I discovered when I got to Constitution Hill, and I looked at this amazing space and all this amazing
ecosystem
around it, and just the buildings, the opportunities, 2 blocks of flats, a hospital, this all standing empty, and then seeing how creatives were kind of honing on the space. And I remember it so clearly. One of my first meetings, I kind of went out and I was sitting in the coffee shop chatting to these guys, and I said, okay, I'm in an opportunity now to actually support creative businesses.
100.
What do you need? And that was where they said, we need spaces. And that's when we started turning Transverka, which was a hospital, into a creative hub. That's when we conceptualized Flame Studio that we brought in. We used creatives to design spaces at Conhill.
Absolutely.
And for me, one of the overarching things that struck me with the creatives that we worked with was that they were doing things despite government. And how much more would they have been able to do if government had got their act together and actually supported them?
And to reinforce the message.
And reinforce what they would, and to use them. I think so often we're afraid to let people show us up. Instead of let people grow, let people shine. That's only going to make you look better in what you're doing. So often we want to kind of damper that kind of enthusiasm and that spirit because we're not leading.
So Don, taking it a little bit back, and just before the World Cup, and now working in this space, and actually having an opportunity to actually drive this vision, and now there's this huge project, the World Cup, which first in the African continent, and I guess that's what normally doesn't present itself in many times. So now you have this opportunity, stuff that you wanted to do in 10, 15 years, you can actually do it in 3, 4
That was the amazing opportunity.
4 years. And I guess that's also the power of hosting quality global events. And you were one of the architects for Brand Gauteng. It starts here. And the importance of differentiating the destination brand and the government brand, because as I always say, the logo of South Africa government, and the South African national flag, two distinct things. But the importance of then creating this destination identity that everybody, government, private sector, community could rally behind around the specific place identity. Your reflection on that journey and how that was shaped up. And how did you even manage to convince the principals that this is the direction to take?
I think we just had, I often compare the environment we worked in 2010 and the environment we're working now in the G20.
Yes.
Very different.
Yeah.
Okay. If we only had the kind of vision that people had in 2010 now in G20, we could really have leveraged this event more. But I think we just had people that were more open to this idea. I think we had a lot of international people coming through. Yes. And presenting us with, So I mean, remember we had some brand architects from the UK that came and worked with local brand architects. Yeah. People saw the value of it. I think a lot of it was based on the brand that UK had developed at that time.
Yeah.
But the political principles brought into it. They saw it.
Yeah.
And then there was, I don't know if you remember, there was a bit of a tug and a pull where, is this a Gauteng tourism destination brand or is this government's brand?
Brand.
And I think people ultimately understood this was the brand for everybody.
Yeah.
And they bought into the whole thing. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if any other province has ever managed to do that. Western Cape to some extent, but not to the same
Yeah, I know
extent.
Limpopo
But
did.
just the brand
Yeah,
story as
yeah.
well. So it was so beautifully
Fascinating.
fascinated,
Yeah,
conceptualized. I mean, look at it. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
and yeah, so
And even the colors,
the
what it
colors.
represents, the dots.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
the blue representing the Vaal
The Val
region,
region
the
and
sky. I think
exactly.
yeah,
A lot of
the gold
thinking
of Gauteng.
that went
And
into
I've
that.
just done a run on stuff of merch for a project that Gauteng Tourism and I are doing
Yeah,
together. And it's so funny the way these two brands, the Jozi My Jozi brand and this
yeah.
brand, just come together beautifully.
And
The yellow,
beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah. And for me, it's about the allowing, the destination. And the destination, it's the entire system. It's the people, it's the spaces, and everything else that is in there. And how, your Melbournes of this world, your New Yorks of this world, your Torontos of this world, and to extend city regions or provinces actually understanding the power of cities and almost leveraging than competing. So even now, I still think there's very few people who knows the Ontario than Toronto, and
Exactly.
it's not a problem. And at that time, you were also having to deal with years and years of heritage and legacy built on the city of Johannesburg.
Yeah. I mean, there was one point, I don't know if you remember, where we got to, I mean, as Gauteng, we kind of sponsored a journey we went on with Joburg Tourism.
Yeah,
And we were basically saying that nobody flies to Gauteng.
yeah,
They don't even fly to Ekurhuleni where the airport is.
yes.
They fly to Joburg, okay? So can we agree on how we're going to market the entire region
Yeah.
under Joburg?
Joburg.
And we actually expanded this brand to incorporate that. And it took us such a long time that there was a change of term in Joburg,
yeah.
and like everything went out the bath.
Yeah.
But if we had got that right, I think we really could. And so now you have Joburg having branded themselves again.
Yeah.
To some extent, I think it does work with
there's
what
some
we're doing.
realignment, yeah.
But I think if we could really get that sorted out,
Yeah.
because like you say, nobody knows, Ontario.
Yeah.
That,
So and I guess that also has to do with the country and the fights of resources, and sometimes we get to invest, and the perception around what logos does, and vis-a-vis the actual lived experiences, because
Exactly.
and the growing deficit of trust between government and the people. So when you see a traditional government logo, you see a free service that is not provided, as even the brand survey picked up. But when you have an identity or a brand that you feel you are part of it,
Exactly.
you see yourselves in shaping whatever outlook that brand represents, and you even start internalizing it. And I guess that's where programs and campaigns like I Am Joburg, I Love New York, I Love Gauteng comes out, because they are personalized on, and they are not attached to a particular institution.
And they attach to the people.
Yeah.
Because the key USP, I mean, so many times, we did brand development at Gauteng Tourism. I did the same thing at Cornhill, and we've just done it now at Jozi My Jozi. And every time the thing that comes out is the people.
Yeah.
The thing that sells Gauteng is the people.
Yeah.
And hence this campaign that we've just launched, which is focusing on people.
Absolutely. Now, you had the opportunity, like you said, move to Cornhill, but also your stint at Gauteng Tourism, being able to even create the Visit Gauteng. And I remember back even then, even our website was Visit Gauteng, and that also in itself had a call to action.
Yeah.
The message is very clear. Visit Gauteng. There's a call to action. Your take on the challenge around a destination marketing organization, which by nature is outward looking. You are promoting the destination, you are driving things that you might not even have control over. You go all out and tell everybody, visit the destination, it's safe, and some moron decide to ramp into people at a concert. You are not even responsible for that, and all of a sudden the narrative changes about safety. So your take on destination marketing organizations, which are inherently outward looking, and corporate entities themselves. So Gauteng Tourism Authority, as an example, the city of metropolitan city of Johannesburg, as that entity, and the tussle between which one do you promote. You had a situation where previously some of our boards were saying, but nobody knows Gauteng Tourism Authority. They know Gauteng. Therefore, let's readjust our budgets and reallocations. But do people visit Gauteng Tourism Authority or they visit Gauteng?
Yeah.
Your take on some of these challenges and how you strive to balance the two.
So one of the key things for me was that we needed to be a DMMO. Okay, so it's not just about destination marketing, it's destination marketing and management.
Yeah.
And you needed to be resourced to do both. And in terms of destination management, it's not just the Tourism Authority or the Department of Economic Development that it falls under, but it's roads and transport, it's community safety, it's everybody that has a road to play within that. And I don't think that has ever been capacitated in Gauteng.
Yeah.
I think we need to get that right. That then allows the DMO to do the work that the DMO has to do.
Yeah.
So even in my current role, as visitor and creative economy catalyst at Jozi My Jozi, I always say to people, there's all these other streams. There's security and environment and education and social. I come afterwards.
Yeah.
You guys need to do all of that because I can't market the place
which is dark
or which is unsafe or whatever. So it's about getting that balance right. And I don't think we as government have ever got that truly right, but also because people don't understand it.
Yeah.
The thing that you can't actually market the destination the way you need to because there's always this thing, you just want to be traveling and going overseas all the time. And
or throwing parties.
Yeah. It's this lack of understanding of what we need to do.
Yeah.
And I think in some extent you probably would feel the same way, is that we've actually failed ourselves by not getting that through.
Yeah.
We could really, if we had got to the point where people understood that and that was working. And there were times when it was. But I think what happens is that... The follow-through, because you have this every 5 years it changes and re-educating people, and people have different priorities and they don't understand it. So in so many ways... what they do in Singapore and places like that where they do have this 25, 30-year vision.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who comes into power, you stick and you keep on that vision. You can achieve things. But for us, I've even been in the point where a document was sent to me in the province to comment on and to make input in. It came from the Department of Arts and Culture. And I was going through this document thinking, okay, this makes sense. And then at some point I thought to myself, hang on, this document looks very familiar.
Yeah.
And it turns out it's a document that I developed when I was at the National Department of Arts and Culture that somebody resurrected and was trying to implement. So it's that kind of thing where baby goes out with the bathwater. You develop a whole range of strategies and stuff which now you're trying to implement, and then there's a change of power.
Absolutely.
So you lose the momentum. We've got to get that right because I think that's one of the biggest challenges, and particularly in destination marketing. And getting if you remember the what do we call it, the visitor services strategy we developed, which would have seen things happening at a local level, cascading up into a regional level, cascading up to provincial, so that we're all on the same page.
Absolutely. And even resourcing the local
and we even
structure,
we even went to the extent of bringing out the guys from Melbourne, because they had managed to do it, and they came with the example and they shared the example that they had, and then change of people, change of things. It just...
You coming from the academia background, Dawn, and sometimes the importance of empirical evidence, and now as a destination marketing catalyst for Jozi and a creative in your own right, the importance of, for example, partnerships with institutions of higher learning, not just in the demand side, where we create awareness and the like about the creative sector, the creative economy, but where we create a body of evidence and literature that starts to unpack this, so that there's embedded points of reference. City tours, studies. I remember when I was still at Jeddah, we did whole tours into Brazil, into Toronto, studying the city region model.
Yes, I remember that, yeah.
And how you are able to deal with the unique position of Gauteng with the 3 metros and the 2 district municipalities into a city region, and how that then get housed into our academic literature, so that it also gets taught in there, because Baba wants to be a chief destination marketing evangelist, goes to a university but studies tourism and they teach him how to make a bet.
Exactly.
Or you go study traditional marketing to sell products, soap, omo, and everything else. And we miss this part that me and you are talking about.
And that still happens, Baba. That still happens. I think one of the better examples of how government has done this, well, maybe there's 2 examples I could give. The Gauteng City Region Observatory.
Yes.
But how does that feed into the academic institutions that make it up, and how does that feed into the students that are studying? The other one is probably the Cultural Observatory, which the Department of Arts and Culture has. But I think there's such missed opportunities there, because whatever you're doing, you need to have this data, you need to have this empirical evidence in which to make your decisions. So even at Jozi My Jozi now, we now have a team that are tracking impact and are measuring everything that we're doing, so that it can feed back into it. Even these Jozi walks that we're doing now, we're actually giving the people that are running the walks, they've got to do a whole kind of documentation, evidence thing that feeds back into how do we develop this destination. What are the things that we picked up in Alex that are a challenge? How do we feed into working in Alex to fix this thing, because it's not working for Alex as a destination? So definitely, I mean, that's one of the things we really can do better.
Yeah, and I guess also the various benchmarks out there in the world. And if you look at the visitor experience and the entire visitor journey, visitors make their bookings, their decision, they search, the entire journey from conceptualizing up until booking and actual experience and post experience. Only if you lost your passport, or only if you had an unfortunate incident and something happened. But there's very few interaction with government in its formal structure. So tourism, visitor economy operates on its own
because government has developed and enabled the destination. So if I can get it, if the transport system is working from the airport to my hotel, that's the part the government, but it's behind the scenes. That's never your touch point.
But how then do we, and collectively as the sector, bring back those touch points from the person who does this at the airport when the airplane is landing, to the person who makes the breakfast, the eggs, and dialing back the impact that tourism and the entire visitor economy has, across the multiple sectors, and bring it back so that you are able to reinvest it back for numbers. So my issues around there, how then do we spread and continue the advocacy role? And that's why you are a catalyst. A catalyst doesn't have anything standing its way. It cuts through. But
that's why I was like adamant. That was the title I wanted. But if you look at it, Baba, I mean, I was at the SATSA conference the other day, and David Frost was giving the example of the project he did where they took London taxi drivers and brought them to South Africa and immersed them in South Africa, and then branded their taxis with the flag and stuff like that.
That was one of the brilliant campaigns ever done.
That's what we need to do at every point along the value chain.
Yeah.
So the custom official that stamps your thing when you arrive, how do they greet you? From the we tried to do it with the taxi drivers, but they just a law unto themselves. I really have sympathy for
we
my
will have
colleague
the guys from Santago in the show next time.
Well,
so
you
we'll
need to
post
bring
this
them in,
the-
and you need to bring King in from Jozi My Jozi, because he's working with them to develop a whole new enabling system for them, which is very, very interesting. So it's all these touch points that we've got to work at. So concierges, for example. Remember in the World Cup when they said, no, you can't go out of the hotel. So we had to do a lot of education with concierges, but making sure that it was safe. Yesterday in the meeting around World Tourism Day, which happens on Saturday, we had the jock guys and the security team say, no, you can't have people walk through the city of Joburg. They're going to get mugged. They're going to get checked. And I think to myself, well, why are we doing all this work with these
And
people?
it's the security
It's
guys
the security
saying
people.
them.
And I mean, we've developed all the security systems that they're not even aware that we've developed. They're still sitting in their little space with their opinions about how things are. I'm not saying that Joburg's unsafe, but there's so many checks and balances that we've put into place, and they're working.
Absolutely. But also, and I guess that brings me to the next point, and about the collaborative nature in which the tourism and the broader visitor economy sits on. You will never get a winning formula if this looks and is attended to as an ivory tower.
Exactly.
Where it just sits there because it has every link with transport. It has every link with agriculture, food production. It has everything to do with homeland, home affairs, the passports and the visa. It has everything to do with sports, arts and culture, everything to do with international relations.
And I mean, somebody said, I can't remember which minister of tourism it is, but I remember somebody telling me this particular minister used to walk into every cabinet meeting and look every minister in the eye and say, what have you done for tourism today? Because every one of your departments has a role to play.
To do. Absolutely.
I mean, I'm trying to do a simple project at the moment where we're cleaning up the road from, we did it in the World Cup as well, from the airport into the city and stuff like that, and putting in place land art. But you've got to deal with SANRAL, you've got to deal with City of Joburg, the roads department. It's just like 6 or 7 or 8 different departments that just don't see eye to eye. And I have an investor, one of the banks, that's saying, okay, I'll fund this project.
Yeah. And now it's about who gets to shine out of that project. The collaborative nature, and now that you have moved out of the formal public service, which you serve so diligently done, spearheaded many things that we're still leveraging now, including Brand Gauteng. What has been your take in the appetite on the other side, especially around the management part of the destination? If you look at the city of Johannesburg, and it might just be my own perception, rewind it back many moons ago, did the people, despite the fact that it might have been white minority, and the blacks in the township, but did the people have anything to do that much with the city council? Did the people had much to do with the regional government and who's leading? Or
did it just work and they were just hands off?
Yes, or they were just hands off, or they were just an establishment, so we don't care about these ones. And that allowed for business and private sector to run. Therefore, you... and I'm basing this on just the architect of Johannesburg, for example. You had a lot of private and a lot of public spaces that are, some even regard them as private, but they are actually city buildings and the like. But the way they have been concessioned out and allowed to be reutilized is completely different from how things are done, except the Gautrain, which many people still think is not a government project, just simply because of how efficient it's running. But your take on, just from the other side, the appetite in the private sector around this collaborative work, but also leading in the Sandton Square and in the Sandton area, including Sandhurst, the richest square mile in the African continent. Apart from Bujanala House, I don't know what government building or offices are there.
Maybe the library and Joburg tourism on the square.
Yeah,
I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it. But the space is working, the place is buzzing. And then what becomes the role of the private sector and corporates, in leveraging that and seeding it on a cooperative level with government to enhance the destination story?
From our experience at Jozi, my Jozi, I think the corporate sector is very willing to kind of come to the party. I think more so than ever before. And we have a very good relationship with both Gauteng and the city, and particularly officials that you don't normally see.
Yeah.
So the man that's in the streets, at the director, deputy director level, that's just getting on and doing his job. And nobody sees the value of those individuals. Yeah. And I think we want to, from our side, start showcasing that. But I think there is the opportunity for real collaboration. But there's also stupid things. So I don't know if you remember when we had that crisis in the World Cup where Joburg had said they would build the World Broadcasting Centre
Media Centre
in Soweto. And 6 months before, there was no accommodation, there was nothing, there was absolutely nothing. And we had to suddenly work with the private sector, and we worked with Braamfontein, with South Point and Play
Braamfontein,
and all of them, and they all came to the party. And the city had to fix the pavements.
Yes.
And the city wasn't fixing the pavements and putting the manholes in. So they bought their own equipment and they started doing it themselves. And the city would come and find them and confiscate them. Well, just yesterday I get a message from one of our Jozi My Jozi partners that says the area outside our factory wasn't paved, so we took it up and we've paved it. The city's just come and find us 10,000 Rand. And they send me a picture of their thing saying we are proud Jozi My Jozi partner. And there they're sitting with this fine. So in fact, as I was running out here, the guys were saying, hey, you got fined yesterday. I said, no, it wasn't me, but it was one of our partners. And we need to help them. So how do we get the city to understand that you can't do that?
Yeah.
I understand that there have to be checks and balances, what's underneath that and stuff, but it's paving, guys. You can pick it up. Yeah. They've made the whole area look beautiful and they've paid for it
but
themselves.
Also your process of actually approving that takes so long than actually dealing with
and I was actually
issue.
Thinking, how do we get this right? Do we have like the squad of people that are meant to do this stuff quickly? Like a hit squad.
Yes.
I want to invest X number of million in fixing up because that's what people are doing. I mean, I read an article in the week people are doing in Randburg.
Yeah.
They're asking businesses to clean up the areas around themselves. So what if Joburg suddenly starts firing all these people because they're picking up the areas around themselves?
And it defeats the whole purpose of rebuilding
we get
the city.
emails on our info thing from people saying, our business is in this area. There are 2 traffic lights which never work. We would like to adopt them. How do we go about doing this? So there's a sense of goodwill on people. I'm not saying it's everybody. There will always be the people that are trashing everything. But how do we create this receptive, to get back to your question, this receptive nature between government and the private sector that we do work together? I sit on the presidential Joburg working committees. And even there you'll see private sectors coming and government is pulling away, the suspicion of everyone. If we could just all put that behind us and just like for the greater good of what we've got to do.
And going back to the World Cup over again, that was a moment where actually
we did that.
Things started working. And I was looking at the work you are doing with, for example, Anglo American, and with them owning a lot of spaces, in the city. I've seen Office of the Premier has even moved into
56.
Into 56. The space used to be a hub for commercial shootings, car brands and the like coming in. Earlier on with my guest, the previous guest, we were talking about living, working and playing in a city, something that I know is you're very passionate
Absolutely.
about.
I've been eyeballing an apartment and thinking maybe I should get one.
And how do we, and especially with the new generation, the Generation Zs, the generation maybe Meta, not Beta, who are easygoing. They wanna
who don't mind going to party in my market.
Absolutely, and actually find it very worthwhile. How do we start also incentivizing them, but also remaining an open and cosmopolitan city where different views and divergence actually helps in building the city without necessarily flouting immigration, rules, but the work, play, and stay concept and how it fits into the current living, because spaces becomes very expensive. Nobody wants to live in a big yard where the maintenance costs are more than what you earn. Therefore, city spaces becomes important.
Sure.
And I guess that's the work you are trying to do with Jozi My Jozi.
And so much of it comes back to destination marketing.
Yes.
Because that's our role, to make people realize that come over, I always call it the Boerewors divide, from Park Hill over to Parkview,
Yes.
coming over into the city. So many people you meet to say, I haven't been to the city. My sister called me earlier and said, I was at the market theatre the other day. I haven't been there for 10 years. I was so amazed about what's happening.
Yeah.
So many people are scared to come into the city. So I think a lot of the work we're doing in destination marketing is bringing people into the city and using young people and showcasing people. So that's why we're showcasing through our Babisi Bonke campaign people like DJ Kenzero, Osmic, James Delaney, who kind of saved the wild.
Absolutely.
Julian Ribeiro that opened a restaurant 2 years ago in the middle of the city when everybody else was fleeing. And you talk about, Anglo's buildings. Anglo has, they've given one of the buildings to Maharishi, which is extending the university to another 3,000 students.
Oh, lovely.
And that university is now going to introduce the arts into what they're doing. One of the first things that was the problem in the city for us as Jozi My Jozi was security.
Yeah.
They've introduced a 3-year security mastery academy. We've got the first cohort of 150. And these are not just like these security things that are 6 weeks. This is a 3-year training program. They're even getting trained in cybersecurity.
And that's why it's called mastery, because it goes into the deeper.
And they include, like, Virgin Active has put a gym in there for them. They include yoga and meditation. I was working with some of the kids the other day, and they said to me, "Excuse me, Dawn, we just have to go off. It's time to meditate." So they they really grounded. So the first cohort have come out of their first year, and they're now on the streets for their work placement, and then they come back in the next cohort. So there's 300 in training at the moment. So Maharishi is like, what are the challenges in the city?
Yeah.
And how can we design programs to support those challenges? So that's the one thing. So Anglo-American given that building. The other building has been given to WITS, to the business school. And that's going to be a new center for innovation for SMMEs. That's one across the way from the Premier's office.
Yes.
So WITS is moving in there with a lot of new dynamic programs coming in. And then the building that we in, which was the original head office of Anglo-American, is becoming a hub for creativity.
Yeah.
So we've moved
So the
in
creativity is back in
it's
that
back
space.
in the city.
Yeah.
And that whole space is going to become education town. I don't know if you know that big open piece of land next to the Standard Bank building.
Oh, yes.
That's becoming a big sports center. You're going to have major soccer fields and sports centers in the middle of the city. That's under construction at the moment.
I hope they build a huge tennis arena, because my gripe has always been, we have a golf tournament, we are bidding as Joburg for Formula One, and we need a tennis championship. Just like how is
Don't think there's tennis there, but I know that there's basketball and soccer.
So we need a tennis arena.
We need a tennis arena. So there's all these developments developing that end of town as what we call education town. But underpinned to such a large extent by creativity and the work we're doing in that space. And then there's other pockets around the city.
Yeah.
But I think there are so many buildings belonging to corporates that are unused. So, for example, Standard Bank giving that piece of land that they never used to develop a sports centre. One of the things that the security cluster within Jozi My Jozi are trying to do is to every block to create these kind of op centers where you can watch everything.
Yeah.
And so one of the corporates
and they are all connected.
And they're all connected.
Yeah.
And these kids that are in the security mastery training will be trained on this as well. So, corporates are coming to the party to give that kind of thing as well.
Yeah.
Every day there's
fascinating stuff. Dawn.
Yeah, every day there's trucks coming with furniture. Somebody came with a huge thing of artwork because a lot of corporates have downsized.
Yes.
So we don't need this furniture anymore. Can we give it to one of the schools in the inner city? They sent this artwork. I haven't opened it yet to see what's in there, but
I can imagine the wealth of art that is housed in corporates.
I mean, the Anglo America and De Beers have given their furniture. So, my office looks like it's got this antique furniture.
No, I'm coming there. I'm coming there to get some furniture. So maybe let me put you on the spot. So this Security Mastery Academy.
Let me just tell you something else before you go there. One of the funny things was they had a uniform. And Robertson, who's like the biggest crazy of the lot, looked at the uniforms and this doesn't work for me. Yeah. So he got the designer that designs Nando's merch to come and design their uniforms so that they look cool.
Yes.
And they are like...
And then the representation of Jozi.
The representation of Jozi is there.
Wow. So right there, and it might not necessarily be a uniform thing because now what I'm bringing to you contrasts that coolness. But the energy and the youthful nature of the crime prevention wardens for the initiative that the provincial government done. Do you see an opportunity of the Security Mastery program, bringing in the crime prevention wardens in, cross-referencing, the skill sets and everything else? Because ultimately, whether you are a security of Standard Bank building or you're a security of Umnoto House or you are a security of Carlton Center, you are responsible for security.
Yes.
Or you are patrolling from Jozi Majozi or you are patrolling as a Mapanyaza. There should be that synergy. But the way it's been structured and how it's multifaceted, do you see partnership opportunities?
I think there's
with community safety guys?
There's huge opportunities there, and I don't think we can continue to do things separately.
Yeah.
I think one of the things around the Security Mastery Academy was really saying these guys need to be properly trained.
Absolutely.
They need to be fit. I mean, you see them, they come running through the precinct, scaling these huge walls, and, they are super fit. Like I said to you, they actually, their diets are managed, in terms of keeping them.
So these are proper, almost like how you're managing players, athletes.
Exactly, that's how they manage.
Yeah. So there lies, and the craziest gang, me and you and others, there lies an opportunity to even document this. So I'm already seeing a blockbuster production that actually documents this process in which you ultimately use that to also reassure. If I know that these securities are well trained and I've seen them going through that vigorous training, chances of me wanting to take chances are very slim.
Exactly.
Because they are gonna donor me, or whatever. But there, for me, I see an opportunity which we have missed. Apart from Gautrain, which did that wonderful mega structures documentary on how Gautrain was built and the like. But you can imagine, Don, that removing that concrete, those bricks paving at that Standard Bank open space and starting to prepare the place when the buildings are going up, they are putting the artificial turf and there's a production of that.
There's
start
so
documenting
many
the
opportunities
stories,
to do that. Really, there are.
So there we go. You ever watching us or listening to this, there is an opportunity to join in, share in your expertise, but also contribute. You might be running artificial grass companies. You might be providing equipment and services. This Security Mastery, they might be needing gym wear. Who knows, that could form part of this. And that's how, I guess, Don, the Babize Bonke is not just about calling everybody to come to the city only, but it's a calling to everybody to join the movement.
To join the movement, to be part of it. And it doesn't mean you've got to put money down.
Yeah.
So yes, some of the big corporates put huge amounts of money down. I mean, RMB just put down an astronomical amount to pull in all the solar street lights in the city so that
perfect.
we always have lights, okay?
Yeah.
So people do things like that. I mean, I know with the Marishi Institute, one of the big carpet companies have just said, okay, we will carpet these 2 big buildings from top to bottom. So people are doing things like that. But it's just like simple things. Like I have a skill over here. A lot of the people that are at Jozi My Jozi are just volunteering this. You know, there's very few of us that are employed full time.
Yeah.
The others are just like, I have a particular skill and I can help.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're looking for. So we run a big volunteer database of people that just want to be able to do their little bits and they don't know how to do it. We haven't quite mastered it, how to manage it properly, but we're trying to like create projects beyond Mandela Day.
Yes.
So we know that this particular school in Soweto needs X, Y, and Z. One of the big projects that the banks have taken on, which is really great, is, have you seen the conditions of our police stations?
Yeah, no.
So the banks have adopted, just about every different banks have adopted different ones, police stations within Joburg.
Oh, lovely.
And they're going in and they're fixing the furniture and connectivity and painting them out and just, I mean,
the fencing, you know.
All of that.
Yeah,
So, and it's not just they started on Mandela Day and they're still doing it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that the GBV room, so the places where women and children get brought in, dismal, horrible places.
Yeah.
So they started with that.
Wow.
So now when a woman goes in, she's in a safe space.
Safe spaces,
there's the kinds of things that she needs.
Yeah.
And also we just hope that the attitude of our police will improve because they see now they're being treated with respect. They've got great places around them, you know. They've done up kitchens and it's ongoing things that people are doing. So police stations and schools have been a big focus for a lot of the corporates that are just using their staff and their people to make a difference. Obviously, they're contributing, millions to Jozi My Jozi to do the big work in the city. But it's how do you involve the ordinary people? And that's the whole Babizibonke thing. Come and see how Jozi does it. Come and join us. Play your part.
And I guess, Don, how then this expands to, and this, I know there's a huge focus on the city centre for obvious reasons, and we need to get it back to where it is. But the entire catchment space of Johannesburg and the city of the Golden Province of Gauteng, you know, is made up of townships. It's made up of, you know, the people lives there. If you want people's attitude to change when they are in the city, that must transcend even when they are in their own local spaces where they live and sleep. And the expansion to this and the pilots you are doing in Alex and in Soweto, and how has been the reception?
It's been great. I mean, the Soweto team are absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
And they're doing some great stuff. And in fact, when we started off, and it's funny, the Soweto thing grew because I went and spoke last World Tourism Day at SETSA, and our people that we know in destination marketing and said we want to be part of it. And so I went there and I said, listen, and so
we had Norma Mazwai here, and she was raving about the opportunity with Jozi My Jozi.
So we started off calling them the Soweto chapter, and now we've said no. We are integrating everybody into everything.
Absolutely.
So there is no more different townships. We're just working with people around. And we even started moving into places like Randburg and stuff like that. Yeah. But we're trying to get the model working in the inner city.
Yeah.
And in the inner city, the nucleus is Hillbrow.
Yeah.
So we always say, that's ground zero.
Yeah.
If you can get Hillbrow to work, then you can get anything to work.
And I guess Hillbrow, because historically that was the nucleus and the microcosm of a very unique and open Johannesburg that actually defied what the apartheid system was standing
but
for.
But also, I mean, I remember one of the last year I was at Cornell. I did a lot of research into the LGBTQI community.
Yeah.
And the role that Hillbrow played. And somebody actually showed me a block of flats that you can see from Cornell and said, that's where these parties used to happen, where everybody just broke all the rules. And so it is, and there are so many amazing people living and working in Hillbrow, from the guys that are running the Ponte. I mean, Grant is one of the Babizibonke champions that we showcase in the work that he does. Mess, the work they're doing with homelessness and children. fight with insight.
Yeah.
Just even the SIDS in the area. People,
Yeah.
Windybrough's doing
Yeah.
phenomenal work.
Yeah.
And people don't see that.
Yeah.
And I was very interested to see that one of the first tours to sell out on the Jozi Walks tours for this weekend was the Hillbrow tour.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are interested in what's happening.
And I guess it's that type of stuff where you get the pockets to work the hub and spoke model.
Yes.
You use the inner city and then start transacting out.
And make your mistakes and refine your models.
Fail forward,
Yeah.
and everything else. And I take it that in a long run, there is a direct intention and drive to actually incorporate other hubs. And we were talking earlier on about the history of Hillbrow, how Hillbrow used to be this melting pot, and the system back then actually punished Hillbrow by switching off, and then the businesses went and created Sentin.
Yes.
And now we are seeing the emergence of your staying
city
stuff, and we hope there's not going to be a migration from Sentin to Stain City, where you build new spaces and you leave a dilapidated space behind. Are there already existing efforts to start connecting, these hubs? I got so pained, Don, when I learned that Marabi is moving to Stain City.
Yes, I did as well. I actually had a meeting with them and tried to convince them. But the reality is they couldn't survive.
Yeah.
Because, the issues they had with the city and just people not wanting to come into town. I just thought it was the most phenomenal experience,
Our media hostings, our trade hostings are no longer the same without Marabi. And I'm not sure if they want to go to Stain City. But for me, the issue then becomes the connecting, so that you also don't build new establishments that are built for a specific period that are not connecting to the old, so that you use the new to rehabilitate.
We need to do that, definitely.
The old.
But Baba, also think about Maboneng.
Yeah.
So the city never ever came to the party with Maboneng, okay? So until, we did an exercise with the city and with the World Bank, and they actually did a case study around how the city failed Maboneng.
Yeah.
If the city had come to the party, we'd still have that vibrant, creative district. Yes, it's still there. It's different.
Yeah, but I guess we can revitalize
it. Yeah.
As we wrap up, Dawn, this platform is watched and listened to by many decision makers. They really take heed of the conversation. They contribute to the discussions. And your message to the powers being that are responsible in making policy decisions, in enabling the strategic partnerships that you are longing for as Jozi My Jozi, but also having been on the other side and knowing what are some of the challenges and actually being one of those people that overcame those challenges. Speak to them.
I think a lot of people on the other side are despondent. I think you just need to wake the passion, because I don't think you get into government just because you want a job. You get in there because you're passionate about something. I always used to say when I did interviews, I wish I had a passion for thermometer, because you can train people to do everything else if they've got the passion. So I think it's really about just kind of shake off the lethargy and kind of let's get shit done. Yeah, it's that Geshido thing.
Let's just get the shit done.
Let's get the shit done. Don't see the optical. See the glass half full.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you can't do this. Like I always say to people when they come, we got a problem. So my answer is always, yes, so what's the solution?
What's the solution? How do we resolve it?
How do we resolve it? So don't come with the problem. Don't put barriers up like these security guys that were saying, oh, no, you can't go walk in the city because people can get mugged and they're going to fall down manholes.
Yeah.
What are you going to do that they don't get mugged and fall down manholes? So I think it's that change of attitude. And I don't think I've been in government with different types of leadership, and some of them have been great and some of them have been awful. But there's also the style of leadership of trying to beat people up.
Yeah.
So people are trying to do their job, but you're like whacking them and beating them. That doesn't work.
That doesn't work.
You've got to, obviously the stick is important, but it's got to be carrot and stick.
Yeah.
How do you inspire people to
Incentivize.
want to get up? I mean, I recall my late dad saying to me, the day you get up in the morning and you don't want to go to work is the day you go to work and resign.
Yeah.
And I think we've got a lot of people in government that are just there for the salary check at the end of the month because they've lost their passion.
Yeah.
And it's not because they don't want to do it. They've been, so it's like find your people again, inspire your people,
And
get your
reignite
people,
them.
and then let's do this. And those people that don't want to, well, then let use the stick and get rid of those.
And the system will clean
yeah.
them out. So Jozi, how do, especially as we're talking, this works very well with volunteering. This works very well with other partners' contribution in a collaborative manner for shared results. So how do people volunteer? How do people contact? And what those that wants to join this movement, what do they need to do to reach you?
So our website is very easy, josimajozi.com, and we're just revamping it at the moment, and I'm building a whole destination marketing component to the website that will link up with you as well. But it's just focusing for now on the inner city so that we feed the stuff out to you. But like the plan we were going to put in place.
Absolutely.
So there's that, and then on there are places to volunteer, and we also invite businesses. So we've got different kind of categories. So you could become, I always get confused with these titles. So you can become a partner corporate business, and you can become an alliance.
An associate.
Associate.
Something like that, yeah.
So the one is, you contribute. So there's a number of big companies that contribute a couple of million every year to keep the organization going.
Yeah.
Or they contribute, like I said, with R&B, with the lighting thing,
or the infrastructure.
They come in on a particular project.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of other people that can't actually contribute financially, but they contribute the value that they have. So, for example, one of the people that have a business next to library gardens, I was trying to get them involved in library gardens, and they wanted to get involved in library gardens, but they couldn't put money in.
Yeah.
But they do this kind of thing where they track your impact on social media, your market. And so they've given that contribution of the services that they do to track the work that we're doing.
Okay.
Or Expo guys, am I allowed to mention people? So,
yes,
they became a partner, and they build our stands for...
almost nothing. Yeah.
No, for nothing.
Okay.
So they design and they build our stands, and they bring them into trade shows, and, they do that just because that's what they do every day, and they want to contribute.
Yeah.
So there's different ways. And then there's so we're trying to get down to the point of, how do the employees in a particular business contribute? How do families contribute?
Yeah.
And, how do couples contribute? Like maybe there's something you want
and
to do.
And how do media houses contribute?
How do media houses
stations
contribute?
that
so for example, some of the media houses, the digital billboards where you'll see Jozi My Jozi, that's them giving, when it's not sold, then they throw Jozi My Jozi on it.
Then you fill up
we're
the space.
Speaking to some of the big media houses, they're also going to come. Maverick, for example.
Yeah.
If they just want good news stories. So every week we feed them a good news story. We've employed a journalist who goes out and finds the stories, and they file it with them. Yeah.
The Jozi Walks, I know they are premiering at the big scale this coming weekend for World Tourism Day. But is it something that we hope to sustain
That's
throughout?
Exactly what we want to do, with the support of Gauteng Tourism as well. So a lot of the property developers wanted to come on board for this one. But we just didn't have the time to bring in them on. But what we're thinking is, like, if you've got a lot of properties in a particular radius, we can work with you to design a walk. So, for example, I didn't know that the one downstairs on the corner here, Joseph Housing Company, I mean, they employ social workers. They do such amazing work in the communities that they do, and they really want to come on board. So how do we showcase the work that they do? They want to open outdoor movie houses for the people that live in the apartments.
Wow.
So finding ways to work. So yes, Jozi Walks is kind of premiering this weekend, but we're going to be running them continuously throughout the year, and maybe just focus on a particular community each time. So you're not trying to manage 15 across the city like we are now.
And there is then opportunity, and I'm just thinking that there are just so many civil servants in the city of Johannesburg, in the city of Tshwane, for example, and I guess this initiative on CBD revitalization will spread. I mean, the capital city equally needs something like
Yes,
this.
definitely.
But a
We've
walking
even been
Friday.
invited by Opa to Graskop.
Yes.
He wants to implement Graskop, my Graskop.
So how do we also incentivize on the thousands of civil servants that are every day commuting into the city, coming to work, maybe agreeing on a Jozi my Jozi tourism Fridays, almost something stuff like we built during the World Cup.
Let's do it. But
Stuff
we
like
need
that.
we need you guys to work with us on that. We could do something
because
like that.
there are the departments, there are the civil servants. I guess the decision makers that are watching and listening to this, they can afford to release stuff at 12 o'clock on Fridays. So long as they go experience the city.
Yeah.
And
we
the
could work
spaces.
with, I believe some of you guys are working with different establishments and stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. Joburg in your pocket, the guys that are there, they can come in. I guess there lies an opportunity for...
And everybody's in the city. So
absolutely.
it's the easiest thing is to get out, To
live by example. 1 week, there's the premier leading the walk. The another week is the mayor. The another week is the CEO of Nando's. The other week is the Ranch Merchant Bank. Next week, and that leadership, that thought leadership, is demonstrated not just in what you say, but also
what you do.
What you do.
I always threaten Robbie Brosen that I'm going to have to go and register him as official tour guide with Gauteng Tourism.
Yes.
Because you bump into him in the city, he will find the most random important people.
Yeah, and we need
to
get him a badge.
And the next thing, we need to get him a badge.
We need to get him a badge and create that program that you actually started, the Gauteng Specialist Program, where we get even the tourist guide that are of exceptional standard getting that golden badge.
Exactly.
The establishment getting that golden plaque that represent the province.
Yeah, we don't have that anymore. I was at Levos last week.
Yeah, and if you don't perform up to standard, we grade you because gold is number one. Gold is pole position. Don, your favorite food in Gauteng, and where do you get it?
Well, I love any kind of Asian food. Yeah. And working in the city, Fordsburg is kind of my go-to place, especially on Fridays for biryani from Bismillah or something like that.
And then you go on a spice tour there.
And then I go on a spice. So in fact, one of the 2 Jozi walks are happening in Fordsburg this weekend. So yeah, that's my kind of go-to.
Yeah.
I've got my favorite.
I remember back in the office, you used to feed us with a lot of biryani, you and Manuel.
Yeah, because it comes from there. That every Friday, that those big decks, they call them, are making biryani, and it's going to be beautiful and spicy. Yeah.
One song that you think represents the energy, the buzz, the determination of Gauteng and Joburg in particular?
Probably These Streets by Mikasa.
Or These Streets, yes. And that's what you are trying to do.
That's what we're trying to do, getting people to love the streets of Joburg, get out on the streets. We've worked in government in the inner city all our lives. We've always walked the streets of the city.
Yeah.
You won't believe how many people are too scared to walk the streets.
Who are able to walk, vinyl collectors are able to go to one of the oldest.
It's around the corner from us. I promise the guys in the city I'll take
where you jump. I can't wait. I'll be there to get my new stuff in the coming walks. But these are the streets that characterize the energy and the buzz that showcases our golden province. These are the streets that we need to live, work, and play. But these are the streets that we need to take care, because if we take care of these streets, they shape our future and the trajectory of our golden city and our golden province. That has been another exciting episode of Gauteng Live. Hey, don't forget to subscribe. We are at I Love Gauteng on Instagram, I Love Gauteng on Twitter. We are also at Visit Gauteng. Don't forget to download the Visit Gauteng mobile app and also follow us across the social and digital media platform. Do look out for information about the Jozi Walks as they come up. Until the next episode, second round.